Hello and welcome. Welcome to the SBIR SCTR Technical and Business Assistance webinar we're providing today. Thank you for coming. I hope this is going to be a valuable use of your time. The webinar will be recorded. It will be on LinkedIn, and we will also have it on our website. And at the end, I'll have a link for you to be able to get to there. So let's move right on with TABA. So I'm going to get the screen back up now. Okay, let's see. How do I get back? Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. Let's do an outline of what we're going to cover in this webinar today. It keeps going back to a wrong. There we go. All right, so what is TABA? Let's talk about the definitions of TABA. We'll talk about some of the changes that have gone on in the current legislation. And then let's talk about what is an effective use of these extra funds that are often provided extra in the SBIR CTR Phase 1 and Phase 2. What does it take to request TABA? How would you go about choosing a TABA vendor? And what to expect from TABA? And then the resources that we can provide, as well as let's do a brief summary of the SBIR CTR Reauthorization Act that just passed the House yesterday. So what is TABA? Let's look at the Small Business Act, and it is in Section 9, page 200 in Q1. And it says now that each agency shall authorize recipients of awards to select TABA funding. It gives you the opportunity to select TABA funding. You don't have to do it, but it gives you the opportunity. So this expands TABA to all federal agencies in the SBIR CTR program. And the Small Business Act drives the Small Business Administration Policy Directive, which is right there, which then drives agency-specific policies like coming out of DOD or Department of Energy or NOAA or whatever. And their implementation is unique, so each one is not the same, but they all have to work within the guidelines of the SBA's policy directive. So why TABA? Why does it exist? Well, one of the primary reasons it exists is commercialization, as I note right there. So from the Act, the term Small Business Innovative Research Program is defined here. This is from the Small Business Act, Section 9, page 178. So a portion of each federal agency's research or R&D effort is reserved for award to small business concerns through a uniform process. So the process is in Phase 1 to determine scientific and merit and feasibility of ideas that appear to have commercial potential. I'll keep noting that. In the second phase, you want to further develop the proposal to meet particular program needs, considering, among other things, the commercial potential. So they keep referencing commercialization. And is evidenced by your record of successfully commercializing SBIR topics or other research, and the existence of second phase funding commitments and so forth. So there are other indicators that they're going to look for the commercial potential. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that commercialization is a major element of the SBIR SCTR program. So why should you choose TABA? You're bidding a program, you see that TABA referenced in that paragraph, you're thinking, do I even take the time to read that? What is it all about? So let me suggest why. So realize that SBIR SCTR is a short-term federal taxpayer funding that really is there to enable ideas to convert into products or services, stimulate economic growth, and create new jobs. So this is short-term funds in the program to seed longer-term commercial success. It's not an end in and of itself. It enables small businesses to develop their ideas into products and services for commercial use. Realizing the SBIR CTR is really not traditional long-term academic research. That's not what this is. Although many small businesses have their genesis in universities, in my opinion, there needs to be a paradigm shift from research to product and service. So we need to learn what are the market needs. In other words, what is the pull? You need to understand that. But generally, the small business researcher skill set is not aligned with this kind of market research. TABA fills this gap by providing these skills from a subcontractor on your SBIR SCTR Phase 1 or Phase 2. Let me just show you a little something out of the Field of Dreams. You've probably seen it before. Many academic researchers are very proud of their research, and they figure, hey, people are going to be lining up at the door, right, to buy what I've just done. And as you remember from the Field of Dreams, all the guys coming out of the cornfield, if we build a stadium, they're going to all come and watch us play, right? Well, that's only in the movies. That is not going to happen in the SBIR CTR program. If you don't reach out and touch an end user to learn their requirements and develop your technology towards that market, towards that use case, you're going to do research and move on to no more research, but you're never going to get commercialization and get long-term revenue, which is what we're after. So changes to TABA that came about from the recent legislation. It's expanded to all agencies. It's now discretionary, which that means there's no government mandated vendor. The small business selects TABA and then selects their vendor. The funding is the same, phase one, phase two. There is every agency policy is going to define whether the funding is in addition to the grant or included in the grant. Typically, all the phase ones have been in addition, and the phase twos were embedded within because the phase two value was so much greater. But we don't know what that's going to be yet. But we will when this act is finalized, and well, the act is finalized, but we will when the policy directive is finalized. The agencies are back out publishing topics and solicitations. It does say in TABA that the agency policy may require targeted reviews of TABA funding. So what that says is you probably ought to select a TABA vendor that is qualified and does a good job. So what are the goals? This is in the Small Business Act too. There's the purpose of TABA, the high-level objectives: making better technical decisions, solving technical problems, dealing with risk, developing and commercializing new commercial products and processes, and screening for potential foreign involvement. They got added into the Act quite a bit this time. What kind of assistance is provided as noted in the Act? The Act says that TABA is going to give you access to a network of scientists and engineers engaged in a wide range of technologies, and that's where it's noted in the Small Business Administration Act. The assistance with product sales, IP protection, cybersecurity assistance, market research, development of regulatory plans and marketing plans, or access to technical and business literature through online databases. So this is what the Act says TABA is going to do. The Act goals that we talked about earlier, I showed you the goals. So there are goals and objectives. The goals, so how can we go about, how would the TABA vendor help you in this? So, to make better decisions, you often may need a subject matter expert that maybe has more knowledge in the particular market than you do, or is digging deeper. Now, you may not need that. You may have those working for you, but these subject matter experts are probably people that can help you a lot with the technical problems and risk. But then there's also this commercialization aspect of TABA goals, for which you need a commercialization expert and potentially some research analysts to help you in screening for potential foreign involvement. So the goals that we just went through there, what should a TABA vendor do to help you with those goals? Well, the subject matter expert should come from assisting you in acquiring subject matter expertise for specific technical consultations. TABA vendors, I know we do, have access to these subject matter experts. They can help you. You can say, hey, I need somebody with this kind of expertise. We can go out and find that for you. The commercialization effort is the TABA vendor should be identifying initial and alternate use cases and help you contact the end user to determine real operational requirement set, and then structure that research and development towards sales that would come from that. And this research analyst, a TABA vendor should be able to give you research analysts to help go research potential partnerships and make sure you stay out of this foreign involvement challenge. Now, from the TABA overview that we talked about before, once again, for each of these things, there are specific types of expertise that you're going to need to go through this. IP protection, probably in phase one, you're going to need pre-legal counsel, right? Cybersecurity assistance, you're going to need somebody in CMMC. Market research, once again, commercialization, development of regulatory plans. A commercialization person can often do that as well. And then it's literature, you may need a research analyst. Well, once again, how would the TABA vendor go and help you in each of these areas? Well, for these subject matter experts, they should be able to acquire and identify and assist in acquiring that subject matter expert. The commercialization activity is something that the TABA vendor does for you, once again, just like we said before. And the research analyst, once again, can research applicable business literature. So this is how a TABA vendor can go and apply their expertise to help you. So what is an effective use of TABA, at least in my opinion? Eligible use is defined in the Small Business Act in Section Q2. So select one or more vendors to assist in meeting the goals. And then what was added this time was a staff augmentation to conduct or participate in training consistent with the goals. So here are the goals. Remember, we just showed those before. So this is how you can use TABA funds at a very high level description of how they're used. Let's look at each consideration. We believe that TABA funding and the effort put forth by the TABA vendor is a function of the technical progress that you've made, in other words, your TRL, and the specific use case. So I know this is a rather busy table. You can take some time and look at it a little bit later. But this is an approach that we take in phase one, depending on, if you just follow me across on the column headings. For phase one, where your TRL is relatively low, you're getting $6,500. Each of these other column headings are the kind of things that the Act says you can do with that money. You get technical assistance, commercialization, and so forth. And technical assistance up front might be some systems engineering if you don't have that, or maybe you don't need that at all. Commercialization, intellectual property protection, probably at that point you don't need legal consult when you're in phase one, but you might need some pre-legal consult. Your CMMC, you probably want to see how you're doing against level one capabilities, because level one is sort of the baseline for cybersecurity. Regulatory and manufacturing plans, maybe an initial assessment of that, but in phase one, you're probably not going to do a whole lot with that. Foreign involvement screening, personnel and partner screening is going to be really, really important. And then the whole comment about adding or training staff in TABA. I think at this point, you think about, I got $6,500. How am I going to spend that money? Am I going to spend it on training or hiring someone to do training or hiring someone to do TABA inside? Probably not with $6,500. That's not going to be a whole lot. So here's some ideas about how you might do it. I kind of think that the use cases for the phase two proposal is one of the first things you need to consider. After that, systems engineering, although I will say that's sort of a chicken and egg thing as well. You might think that that's backwards. You might think, no, technical assistance is more important than use case. But I will tell you, if you're not designing for a use case, you're really not going to end up going anywhere. So, and then the pre-legal consult, assessing your level one capabilities, your regulatory plans, and deciding what to do, if you're going to do anything in training of your staff or getting new staff. So these are just my suggestions about the prioritization of the different types of things you can get from TABA. So I've done that for all these. I'm not suggesting this is, quote, the answer. You need to do it for yourself. But for in phase two, the first year, in phase two, the second year, and we break this up depending on what TRL you expect to achieve at the end of phase two. If you're going to be at 4 to 5, obviously you're going to need additional research and development funding. If you're at 6 or more, you're going to need sales opportunities, right? So this is just kind of a big table to show all the different things that TABA could provide and give you the opportunity to go in there and prioritize to decide how you would use the TABA funding. Okay, so let's just say that sounds interesting. How do I go request it? Well, it's a step-by-step process. You've got to request it at the phase one proposal submission. Although I will say, if you didn't request it at phase one and you're going for a phase two, you can still ask for it in phase two, even if you didn't in phase one. But each agency is going to have unique submission and TABA requirements. The solicitation will specify the amount and whether it's in or extra. Small business will, the small business is going to acquire a TABA provider. That TABA provider, probably another small business, I know we are, who will provide a letter of commitment that meets certain requirements. So how do you go about choosing that TABA requirements? Oh, I will say the letter of commitment they give you will have the scope of work, it'll have the deliverable schedule and all the pricing in there, as well as the rates and a justification of the rates. So how would one go about choosing a TABA provider? I think you need to demand excellence in this matter. You don't want someone that's just going to send you a 300-page market survey they bought from somebody in India. I don't think that's really valuable. I think you really want to research people and get someone who's going to really help you. There is not a single list of TABA providers for SBIR CTR. DOE does have one list, which you can find there. And if you just do an internet search, like most people will do, you'll surface a few providers. But I think it's best for you to find some providers and interview several of these things to see what their strengths and experience within the agency is. And sort of assess the vibes of this discussion. Is there an understanding or an interest in the technology? Can you sense as you talk to them that they have market and use case ideas and seem kind of excited to work for you, not just give you ideas, but to actually work for you? This is a major question. Who's going to do the work? Are you just going to throw ideas at me, or are you going to actually go work for me and do the work and find the research? I think that's important. And are your deliverables thoroughly defined and the firm fixed price invoicing prescribed? Ask for references, check them out. But these are the things you can go through in order for TABA credentials. What's the scope of work? Well, typically a scope of work is customized for your needs. The big table that I put up, that's obviously the notional scope of work is going to be comprised of these elements in various categories and various amounts, right? So here's a sample statement of work. Each one's going to be different. This is a statement of work for TechOp for a phase 1 TABA plan. As you can see, this is phase 1. Our focus is unique for each small business needs. So the notional goal is to facilitate phase 2 success. So our goal for you is to win phase 2, right? Let's identify markets. Let's make some connections. Let's listen to real end users. Let's make a plan to contact the primary and secondary market principals. And we're not going to consult. We're not going to say, hey, we think you ought to talk to these people, but we're going to actually go talk to them and say, hey, we've got someone interested. Let's get on the phone. So in phase 2, it's a little bit different. Once again, they were going to be different. Here's our phase 2 scope of work, as you note there. Our focus is driven by the phase 2 final TRL, which we talked about before, the big table. TRL 6, you need more R&D funds. TRL greater than 6, you need to find demonstration and sales opportunities. Once again, we're not consulting. We're going to do the work for you in phase 2. You need to get a letter of commitment to put in your proposal. It's required to be submitted with the phase 1 or phase 2 proposal. The required components need to be there: justification, experience, scope of work, deliverables, price, and schedule. That's just a redacted sample of a statement of work that we've put out. And the execution is then aligned with that letter of commitment, realizing that at the kickoff meeting, your TABA vendor should be flexible enough to say, well, maybe instead of reaching out and trying to contact particular people in the federal government right now that could be users, I would like to get some pricing information, for example, or what's the state of the art in this technology out there? Can you go find that for me? Your TABA vendor should be willing to be flexible like that. And that's why I say some customization, even though the letter says certain things, some customization is expected at the kickoff meeting. All right, so what can you expect from TABA? Brainstorm with the project team for market ideas and commercialization strategy. With your approval, interview your agency technical point of contact for program of record suggestions. Do market surveys with market sizes, growth, and principles, and then reach out to those companies, programs of records, and decision makers, and create those business relationships. Learn the end user use case specifics and discuss partnering for phase 2. The objective, in our opinion, in phase 1 is to get a transition partner for phase 2. And during phase 1, we believe that you should solidify a phase 3 commercialization strategy, which is going in the phase 2 proposal. The TABA work that we do actually provides you everything that's needed for that phase 3 commercialization strategy that goes in your phase 2 proposal. All right, this is going to be a little busy, but let me just show you how we do it. We have a TABA plan. We have a project manager assigned. We have research people assigned, and we have a senior person assigned like myself or Bob Fielder. In the TABA plan, we come up with what is the phase 1 project going to be that we're doing, and then what are we going to get from that technical monitor call. We do a market and opportunity survey, once again, that shows the type of people involved here at TechOp in doing it. We identify markets, the opportunities there. Then we do a contacts list and marketing material. So we create marketing material for you for your approval. We do a contacts list for your approval and send them to you to make sure you're happy with those. At that point, we're going to exercise an outreach campaign and come back with you on how many people we were able to contact, what their responses were, where we feel like it would be appropriate to set up phone calls with you. And we're going to put that in a report and actually have contacts and conversations, and then a commercialization plan and a final report, which is what you're going to need for your phase 2 proposal. This is phase 1, all right? So that plan is going to have the phase 2 commercialization section, as you can see, is going to be in that plan that we give you in our final report. So you're going to have information that's actionable. And this all takes place over a roughly 6-month period with invoices as noted right there. So what are the overall goals, at least what we have determined to be goals from working? We've done probably 1,500 of these projects. It is discretionary, and that word means that we work for you. We don't work for the government, which is good news, I think. There is a lot of flexibility, as I mentioned before. We have a very strong focus on commercialization to connect you with real end users and discern those use cases and key performance parameters. Once again, we're going to work, not consult. Take work off of your plate. We're never going to give you homework. One of the key ingredients are those key performance parameters. And as I showed you on that picture of the Field of Dreams, you've really got to reach out to these people and find out what's important in an operational use case. You may think you know what needs to be done in your research, but you really need to know what they care about, or else you're just not going to have sales in the long run, okay? So there's resources that we're going to have, the webinars like you're seeing right now, that provide this kind of guidance, and you can click on that link there and it'll take you to our webinar archive and also allow you to be able to review these. We have a topic search tool, so if you go to that link right there, you can put keywords in that if that keyword were in a topic you would like to know that topic exists. You just put them in there. We will do the work for you. When the topics come out, you'll get an email from us that says, hey, here's a topic you might want to look at. So that is extremely helpful for you. There's no charge for this. We're not sharing any of your information with anybody else. So feel free to go use that. Just get at that link. We do proposal development assistance. A lot of this stuff we do free, as you know, people that have worked with me in the past, you can call me with a topic and say, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think we have a chance? Let me tell you why I think we do. We can do through that. We do TABA education and guidance, the benefits of TABA, kind of this webinar plus more. And then we have strategy guides for every federal solicitation. And for small businesses that use us for TABA, we'll provide those to you. I'll give you an example here in just a minute. We also, and all that's, so up until this point, there's no money out of your pocket. At this point, if you would like hands-on proposal development coaching to improve your PWin, the national average for people in a phase 1 winning is 15%. That's not too hot. That means you're going to bid 7 and win 1. People that have paid us to help them and coach them through this are winning at 4 times that. That's 60%. Our firm fixed price engagements begin at around $5K for 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the topic requirements, what the technical volume is going to look like, how much effort is it going to take on our part to go get letters of support, because we will author the commercialization section of your proposal for that, and we will go get letters of support. So there's an example right there that you can get into, and you can see more about what we do in proposal management. Here's an example of what I refer to as a strategy guide. This is for Department of Defense from, this is in May of last year, a Department of Air Force Phase 2 RFP. The blue are the requirements that come from the government. Things that are not in blue are what we create. So as you can see, we're going to give you basically an outline, compliant outline. It's got the right footer, it's got the right proprietary statement, it's got everything on it. So you can actually use this as a template in MS Word for your document. And in each section, we're going to give you suggestions. You can see there, TOC suggestion. Those are ideas that we have for what we believe is important to address in that particular section. The section is prescribed by the solicitation, but we're going to give you some ideas. As you can see, one of the things that we think is important is to address the evaluation criteria upfront and early. And so we do that right there. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and go through a little appendix here. We're not at a half an hour yet. Let's just talk a little bit about what just happened here with the Small Business Reauthorization Act. There's a Congressional Reauthorization Act that establishes congressional direction and prescribes funding. That's what has just gone through this, well, I don't know what to call it, since October the 1st, and we finally got it. It's finally passed. Once that act is done, the act is incorporated into the Small Business Act. The Small Business Act is the actual legislation. So it will be edited to incorporate the act that's written that we just passed. We did a LinkedIn webinar, which I'll have a couple of links in here for you. If you will go get these slides, those are live links, and you can click on that and go look at the LinkedIn webinar. It's about the Small Business Act. From the Small Business Act changes, the Small Business Administration will publish a policy directive. It's a single directive by the Small Business Administration to all the agencies. It looks like that, and it will be updated. And then agency-specific regulations are issued from there. Specific implementation for each agency, very inconsistent across agencies. There's an example of DCIP that has some of the agency regulations for DOD. So that's how all that works together. This was the act the Small Business Act that was just passed. Small Business Innovation and Economic Security Act on March 4th. It was jointly introduced in the Senate and passed. It was passed in the House yesterday. Yesterday, March 17th. It goes to the president for signature, or if the president's not in signing things in 10 days, it will become law. So we expect that to happen right away. There's a link to where you can go get that. And that's off of congress.gov. It shows that it has been introduced, passed the Senate, and passed the House. So that's the status of this act right now. One thing that we did, which kind of go see how does this act impact the Small Business Act? Because if you just go read S 3971, you're not going to get much out of that because it's change this paragraph, change this section, take these words out, put these words in. So we thought the only way to make sense of that is to actually go to the Small Business Act itself, which is what we did, and open it up in Word, turn track changes on, and put the changes in. So that's what I did. And we have a version of the Small Business Act right there. And I have it here. If you're interested in that, let me know. And so you can see what the changes are. And then we did a LinkedIn live webinar, and there's the archive of that for a full presentation. And there's also a slide deck for download. This is what it looked like. I went to the Small Business Act and I showed every single comment based on the page of the Small Business Act, what section, what were the actual changes. Now this is not the actual language. This is my summary of what the changes were, and then whether there was any impact to a small business. So the LinkedIn webinar keeps going all the way to the end of the act. So feel free to look at that. It took me about 30 minutes, I think, to present this, but a lot of information in there that I think you would find valuable. So there we go. I'm done. I appreciate your time. I'm right at almost 30 minutes. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Feel free to email me, or you can pick up the phone and call me. Happy to talk to you about TABA. I feel like TABA is one of those resources that's little known. People are kind of afraid of taking on TABA. They don't know what it means. But based on what I hope you've just seen, it's an asset. It's something that can be used to really help you, and I would really encourage you to do so. So we do have one question coming up here, which I will answer for you possibly. Yes, you can change TABA vendors between phase 1 and phase 2. And as a matter of fact, we have 2 examples just in the past 2 weeks of companies being able to change their phase 1 TABA vendor. They found out about us, called us, talked to us, and went, holy cow, you're doing things that this other vendor has never even thought about doing. We're going to go to our contracting officer and see if we can get them kicked off the contract, although they're not actually on the contract with the contracting officer. But they're a subcontract to us, but we want to get authorization to change subcontractors. And in both cases, they received authorization. The TABA vendor was changed from whoever they were using to us, and we jumped on it right away. We had a kickoff meeting this morning, and we're getting ready to do an opportunity survey for them right now. We have a very short time fuse, but we're going to be able to give them a lot of information in a short period of time. So I'm not saying that everyone can change their TABA vendor once you're into the program, but these 2 firms were able to do so. But yes, you can definitely change between phase 1 and phase 2. All right. Well, thank you for your time. And if there's anything else, oh wait, one more question. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I have I'm actually in an orchestra pit, and I have a conductor that's sitting right over there, and he's conducting me. I'm going to guess, in fact, I thought I put it in here. I'm going to guess March the 30th. Maybe we could all have a lottery system or something, and everybody guess the right date. The question was, when would topics be issued again? There was a kind of a mistaking list of topics from DOD. It actually got on DCEP for, and I don't know how long. I don't know if it was 30 seconds or 30 minutes, but someone downloaded them. I went to someone and got them. And so I have 80 topics right now that may be the 80 topics that you'll see on whatever date that is. I'm guessing March the 30th. But I'm guessing March. Yeah, I'm guessing that, but I don't know. But I do have those 80 topics. If you'd like those, email me. I'll be glad to send you those topics that you can take a look at. They've been floating around the internet, but I have them in an Excel spreadsheet that makes it pretty easy to access, look at, and do word searches and so forth. So feel free to ask for that if you'd like it. Okay. Feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you found this to be valuable. And as I said, these slides will be on our website, so you can download them. You can also, and I will adjust the slides so that my animations are not laying on top of something that you wanted to read, but you can't. We will adjust the slides so you can read them, and Matt Rose will make them available. So thanks again. Thanks for your time. I appreciate everybody joining. Please reach out if you have any further questions or if there's anything I can do to be of assistance, as I noted before. Thank you.